Thank you for joining us for part one of our brioche knitting series. Brioche knitting is an excellent technique for knitters to have in their knitting toolbox. It's great for garments and it's really good on a nice and forgiving negative ease. We're going to start with a long tail cast on and we're just doing a swatch. So in our swatch we are going to do a knit one, purl one rib first before we get into brioche knitting. There's a reason for that. If you are going to do a cast on and go right into brioche knitting, we recommend that you cast on over 2 needles. That way it's nice and loose and it makes room for the elasticity of the brioche stitch. Keep in mind in our swatch we did cast on an odd number of stitches. Therefore, when we do our knit one, purl one rib, we're going to begin with a knit and end with a knit. And then on our even rows, we are going to begin with a purl and end with a purl. So the reason why we are starting with the K1, P1 rib is to show the elasticity. The K1, P1 rib is the most stretchy of the ribs, and the brioche stitch is significantly more. So that kind of gives you an idea of what this stitch can do. So we've worked 4 rows of the K1 purl 1 rib, and now we're going to do a brioche setup. So we're going to start with our knit one. We're going to yarn over, and then we're going to do a slip stitch purlwise. Knit 1, yarn over, slip stitch purlwise. The beautiful thing about brioche knitting is you're only really working every other stitch. And then when you turn your work and work the other side, the stitch that you slipped is the one you're going to work. So what's really fun about brioche is you're going to be knitting 2 rows for every 1 counted row. So if you're checking gauge, if you're doing any kind of measurements, keep that in mind. So we're going to yarn over, slip a stitch, and we're going to finish with a knit. So let's take a look at what we just finished. Remember, this is our setup row, so all the knit stitches have been knit, and all the stitches that were purl in our previous row have a yarn over top of them. When we turn this, remember this is a 2-sided rib, that now all the knit stitches have the yarn over on top of them. Those we will be knitting together. Generally speaking, when you're working brioche and you have a yarn over, it's not really a stitch. You're going to do a slip stitch behind it, and then on the next row you're going to knit it together. Here we're going to start with a slip stitch purlwise with our yarn in front, do a yarn over, and then knit 2 together. Okay, so yarn over, slip stitch purlwise, and knit 2 together. We're going to repeat this across the row. There is so much information about the brioche knitting technique that we can't possibly cover it in this video. So make sure that you go and click the link to our blog that's in the description of this video. Make sure you click the link, subscribe. We've got a lot of really great things coming in regards to brioche knitting. So for instance, we've got this striped baby blanket, and we also have our August monthly blog exclusive. It is a really fun 2-color brioche worked in the round. So we're going to finish here with a yarn over and a slip stitch. Now remember that this is a yarn over, so we got to be careful about our yarn placement here. We're going to work the next row. Remember, now since we turned, all the knit stitches have yarn overs over top of them. Let's begin our second row of the brioche stitch. Remember, this here is a yarn over, so we're going to knit 2 together. yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, and then knit 2 together. We're going to repeat this to the end. Yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, knit 2 together. Yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, and knit 2 together. So you can already see the difference between the knit 1 purl 1 rib and the brioche. You see how the yarn overs are tucked in the stitches. Now let's look at these stitches a few rows later. See how our pearls look here? And you can really see how those yarn overs are tucked into those stitches. This makes for a really warm fabric. It's really insulated. Let's talk real quick about counting stitches. Remember that you're not counting your yarn overs as a stitch when you're working with brioche. The yarn overs and the slip stitch are combined. They're counted as one stitch. Again, make sure you click the link in the description of this video and head on over to our blog for more information on the brioche stitch. In part 2 of our brioche knitting series, we're going to be working the striped brioche blanket. The striped brioche blanket is worked with trendy baby yarn. You can download the free pattern or you can order it as a kit. The kit includes all the yarn you need to complete the pattern, a paper pattern, and a really nice zippered project bag. We're really excited about our August monthly exclusive. It's a 2-color brioche cowl worked with mellow spun yarn and prism yarn. We're using prism in rainbow. It gives us, well, it looks like a rainbow. And it's this really pretty peekaboo when you work with 2-color brioche. So it'll be a little bit different. We're working it in the round and it'll be definitely a challenge. Make sure you stay tuned and follow us on all of our social media profiles. Links are in the description of this video.